So maybe I can just talk my way into this problem, into that room, out of this problem. I don't really want to pay $5,000 just to talk to somebody about a thing because somebody wants to talk to them. If you want to meet Cyril, talk to Maya. I'm keeping an eye on you. Please. Hey. Come here. Alright, well that's not gonna work. And I'm not really in the kill two people because it saves me money mood. Back we go.
Hail and well met.
I'd like a night with Cyril. You'll find her quarters upstairs. She lays a large hand on your shoulder. Don't mind the burly fellows at her door. They're just there to make sure everyone has a good time. I feel like them just being right there is inherently kind of creepy. Unless you're into that. I imagine only one of us is allowed to go in, right? Because otherwise it's weird. The whole, like... Cyril's having a hell of a night taking care of that, really taking advantage of that employee discount with your 6 party members and a fox.
Hail, traveler.
Powder almost hides the circles under her eyes, and rouge dusts her 2 prominent cheekbones. Despite it all, Cyril is beautiful. She favors you with a smile she must have practiced and perfected. Hello, stranger. Let me make you more comfortable. Oh. They don't even feed her enough? There's something I need to discuss with you. She runs a smooth finger along your neck and under your chin. Just tell me what you like. It's extra if you want to bring someone else in, though. Your friend Thristwin sent me. He needs that medallion. So do I. Soa raises her chin. I offered him his half of the money, and he refused it. She crosses her arms and paces in a slow circle around you. I'm sure he told you all about his broken clan. Did he also tell you that I got him where he is today? I really am sorry for him, but I'll bet you anything he lives better now than he did in Arglanfath. I've worked a long time for a way out, and I'm not giving it up just because Thristwin suddenly got nostalgic. Is this gonna be, yeah, it's gonna be another one of those situations where I totally just, I solved the problem by just paying them. Which is a lot of, it's a big length to go out for Thristwin, just for the sake of it. But yeah, seeing the situation, she needs a way out, because this is a really shitty situation to be in. She doesn't want to be here, and she's not even being fed well, despite the supposed being the biggest attraction of the most famous place in the whole city and all that shit. I'll buy it from you. She laughs. It's worth 6,000 pans. If you've got that kind of coin, I'll gladly help you spend it. It just feels gross. I can sit here and like talk. I can use my high intellect to convince her it's worth only 2/3 of that. But then that just makes it feel gross. Fuck it. Sarah goggles at the bag of coin in her hand. She looks back at you for just a second before reaching into her bodice. She holds a carved Aedra medallion by a cord and gives it to you. She cradles the bag of coppers. I could be in a cottage in Brackenbury tomorrow. She looks hopefully at the medallion in your hand. I'm not going to tell you your business, but if you do mean to give that to Thristwin, it would mean a lot to me too. I hope he finds everything he's looking for back home. She pulls a moonstone ring off her finger. Please, take this. It's always given me an edge with people around here, but I'm done with that part of my life. Ooh, it's probably an influence item. Farewell. I've already paid for my time with you. I'd like to use it. It's such a weird thing to do right after paying, being willing to give her 6,000 to start her new life. But first, it's like, ah. On some level, it's certainly nice just to throw the mountain of money I have around to, because you definitely, it's hard fought. You go through these dungeons and you're risking things and everything, but at the same time, I get this money that's like so large that all I can do is spend it on like more items, basically. But even then, it's coming in faster than it goes out, and you can just change some people's lives around here because video game protagonists get an amount of money that in universe is usually staggering, and they get it pretty easily. Like, we have so much game left still.
Greetings.
No additional context or follow-up or anything. No opinions to be had over her being gone. They probably intentionally keep her hungry, just because then she feels like she always relies on them for her continued survival. That, and if people don't have any access, then they can't really be thinking about how to move on. To some extent, that's part of the idea behind keeping wages low or just exerting economic control over certain people. That audio is bugging out again. Yeah. There's like some audio bugs going on in this game. I wonder what they're caused by. Okay. Okay, I don't really want to listen to that anymore. Let's try to get out of this zone. Quickly. Go sprinting along. We'll check out the next building in Brackenbury. Well, first we need to talk to the guy that sent us here. Hang on, who's that guy? Oh. It's just some justiciar. Oops. Please, load a new map. The audio for the ocean was freaking out. It was like flickering in and out of 0 volume and full volume or something, I think. Might be related to whatever caused that problem where that one guy's voice line came out all weird and garbled, because that was weird.
Yeah.
Should take a look at the items they gave me. I'm sure, but depending on how you play a particular run, you'd be tempted to keep the item they wanted to hold on to. Cyril's ring. To resolve. Moonstone ring features a large bright jewel. The gem's silver glow lends the wearer an air of charisma and determination. Since this once belonged to Cyril, the most sought after courtesan of Defiance Bay. Mental intimidation, leadership, convincing performances, maintain concentration. You probably don't have any resolve bonuses yet. And you're somebody who could use it the most because you're constantly at risk of being interrupted. So you got 2 resolve and 2 constitution from that dungeon. Not dungeon, quest line. And there's this ridiculous ring. Goodbye. What did she give me? Wait, no, yeah, that was it. She gave me the... That was Cyril's ring. The 2 resolve is what helped her. This is the... There we go. 2 might. That's not bad. So you, yeah, in certain runs, depending on how you're playing this, you'd be tempted to hold on to that. Especially if you paid for it. This medallion is engraved with ancient Ingwithan symbols. Though large and heavy, it hangs gracefully from a gold chain. 2 might. That's a good one. Because if you choose to side against him, then you can then just decide to buy the medallion from her, therefore enabling her good outcome, but then just taking it for yourself because it's a useful piece of equipment.
Yeah. Hail, traveler.
The fancy elf eyes you with your pack. Did you do it? Did you get the medallion from Cyril? Yes. The first one's eyes are as wide and round as the artifact in his hands. You've given my people a gift we couldn't possibly repay. I'll do the best I can, though. He shoves a bag of coin into your hands. This is everything I have. Take it, please. Thank you. You'll always be an honored guest among the Shattering Spear. Farewell. He hurries out of the inn, his fancy cloak dragging on the ground. I imagine that he can't have given me much compared to... Yep, 2,000. So there's the 2,000 I would have saved from talking down her price. It's like we bought it together. Except he gets all the actual outcomes, so I'm not really against getting some of my money back. Alright, well, back to poking around this place. An understudy for the play. The scripts and props belong to a production of The Most Unfortunate Tale of Favia and Bennett. And though it may splinter my soul, I will. Where have I heard of Naughton before? Because I think I've heard of Naughton before. Naughton and Ingrid. Begging your pardon. Oh, it's you. It's good to see you well. We had a few rough days here, but then we found this place. And they were kind enough to hire us both. Things have been wonderful. I can't tell you how much we appreciate what you've done. Is he the guy that killed his friend? And Ingrid. It's hard work, but good wages. Can't complain. Ah, damn it. I've lost track of who Naughton was. But I have the power to Google. Someone's kicking, because some of you remember who Naughton is, I'm sure. No, I was right. Yeah, Naughton and then Ingrid. They were the couple from Gilded Vale that said they're gonna move on. And, yeah, it was that couple. The one that, he's the one that maybe killed his friend. I still have some mixed feelings about that whole thing. Guys, you can't talk to people without going around the desk? Abelhart Scarian. The man is dressed in neat but functional clothes. His sun-wrinkled skin and limber musculature reflects a life spent in the wilderness. Well met. What brings you to the Charred Barrel? Is this your place? It's my retirement. He thumps the bar. Used to be a warehouse back when Brackenbury saw more ship traffic, but it fell out of use when the area became mostly residential. I inherited it from some great uncle who'd never had any luck pawning it off my cousins. Now, it's the most popular spot in Brackenbury. Except for all the other people that say that, apparently, about their places. The nobles come to unwind, and kith from other districts come to mingle. He leans closer. We get a few rough types, too, but they behave in here. Besides, their coin's as good as anyone else's. Who are you? I'm a cartographer for the Duke. I was a cartographer for the Duke for decades. He rubs his neatly stubbled cheek. Crossed the White March half a dozen times and mapped most of the ruins of Thane Bog. He grins. Grants. Flashing a gold tooth. A good career, but one suited to younger men. When I came back to Defiance Bay for good, Cleaver and a few other friends from the Knights helped me get the rights to refurbish this place. There's strong ale, quality entertainment, and a fresh sea breeze. He raises a mug. What more could a man want? Yeah, so other than that, it's just a generic inn. It has the vendor option, the hireling option, and so on. Where does that go? We seem to have access to a basement. Oh, a band of bandits. I wonder how they'll react to my approach. Just having a little chat with my associates. It's usually pretty quiet down here. That's what the boss likes about it. Even with... Blah, blah, I can't read this anymore. Even with Dunwood Road down the street, people don't ask too many questions here. For Brackenbury, this place is pretty low-key. Hey. Flasks of the infamous Soul Burn from Deadfire Archipelago are nestled next to crystal clear Nasataki and Glenfathan spirits. Of course. Okay, they're literally called bandits, but I guess the game's kind of playing its showing its hand there. Pale yellow and deep amber whiskeys from the Deerwood and Living Lands rest side by side. The proprietors collected a respectable variety of bottles from around the world, from Tartadeer Reds to sweet summer wines of Rautai.
Yeah.
Alright, there's just some bandits hanging out in the wine cellar. And we're just accepting that. I'm hearing a weird sound on loading screens lately. Just a little tick of like some audio flickering into existence where it's not supposed to be there or something. There it goes again. No idea. I have no idea. This ashtray is painted with colorful waves and whorls in the style of Rautai. This map of the Deerwood and Ire Glenfath appears to predate the discovery of some of the ruins in the east, signed by the cartographer A. Scarian. So that part of his story checks out. Him being somebody who used to be a cartographer. A related field to my interests. This map charts routes to the White March. Merwith watches you through coal-rimmed eyes. Oh, you don't want to have coal around your eyes. I've looked at... I've straight up, I've done a research thing on that. It's like poison, basically. If I remember correctly, coal is made of stibnite, and you just don't want to, use that for makeup. That's bad. She puts her hand on the hilt of her blade, jangling the jewels that hang from her wrist. We don't know each other, stranger. Best keep it that way. You don't seem like a Brackenbury local. I'm a sailor. She gives you a half smile, and a liberator of certain goods. Wow, you're really bad at hiding that you're a thief, apparently. Merwith casually fingers a large earring. And the nice thing about the snobs here is that they're usually too polite to ask more. What brings you the charred barrel? Mayor with raises an eyebrow. What's it look like? Good wine and a little peace and quiet. She flips a copper coin with her thumb, and Scarian doesn't ask too many questions. I'll be going. They really don't even mask who they are. Ooh. Can it be? Nope. Still not the book I'd like it to be. An ixamittal water jug fashioned from white clay. Okay. This place seems about as skeevy as you'd think. Wonder if we can dig into that.
Welcome.
Nope. Nope.
Yeah.
In retrospect, it's rather fitting that Naughton and Ingrid both work here, considering the type that they seem to have. I do find myself leaning towards the idea that they totally killed that guy on purpose. Well no, we already know he killed that guy. Right, we went and saw
I always
his...
assumed Glonfathen's preferred traditional weaponry. Yet you seem uneasy with the bow.
Oh, I was a great shot when I had 2 eyes. I'm much worse now. It's hard for me to judge distances.
Well, you have the luxury of being able to catch dinner without the need of a bow.
Exactly! Why aren't more women complimenting me on that?
Oh, he's gonna be a fun character. The Sanitarium, oh boy. Let's go to Hadred House instead. But right, we went to the... I suspected them, and then I went on to see that they had in fact done exactly that. They absolutely did murder him, because we had the vision of him being murdered, because that's our ability. And then we didn't actually have an opportunity to use that against them. It was too late. I'd already picked the wrong dialogue option before that moment happened, or something like that. We've met Curran. I don't imagine he has much more dialogue.
Welcome.
Nope. But we kind of know who these people are now. And I believe I didn't dig any deeper, because I was using my system. A group of notes speculate about the identity and location of secret sect in Defiance Bay. Either these notes are written in code, or the author's handwriting is atrocious. They're all generic names. Affixed to the wall are leads in a case involving, apparently, a caravan that disappeared en route to New Haomar. So, am I right to think that the Dunmanils are not dead then? I just wiped out a mansion of theirs? Because they're sending people after me. Some of these adventures are even older than Defiance Bay. It'll be curious to see whether I can meet their leader. This woman that's never left this building in years. Notes are scribbled in a cryptic shorthand. Of course, she's either never left this building for years, or she's just carefully cultivated the image of having never left this building for years. And those things are different, potentially, in important ways. Pictures of all manner of folk are pinned to this board alongside notes scribbled in indecipherable shorthand. I bet she's in there. It seems like they might keep you from getting there. Unlocking this will require the proper key. If Lady Beb wants to see you, she'll send for you. Alright, well, this potentially interesting detail is a dead end at the moment. To the Sanitarium, then. We're making progress. I know the catacombs were back there in the first zone, but it seemed like the kind of place that I'd get sent to for one reason or another. It's probably a dungeon, and I don't think I have anything pointing me that way yet, but we'll see.
Ever tried vulture?
We don't have those in Nazi talk.
Your loss. They can eat anything, so their stomach juices are sour and tangy, like ripe fruit.
My loss indeed.
Distressing term. Speak with Head Warden Ethelmoer if you wish to make an appointment with one of our animancers. Welcome to the finest Animancy Center in Deerwood. That's not what I thought a sanitarium was going to be, but okay.
Hail, traveler.
Nedine. A woman stands in the shade of the garden, muttering to herself. She's fixated on the pages of a large and well-worn tome, seemingly oblivious to the blooming flowers and the cool, fragrant breeze. She only looks up when your shadow crosses her page. Do you mind? I'm rather busy. What are you busy with? She snaps her book shut. I'm studying soul attachment. We all know that souls move into people at birth and out of them at death, but we still have a lot of questions about what makes them stick, so to speak. What do you mean about making them stick? She brushes a stray lock from her forehead. Souls power bodies and give their tissues life, but only when they're firmly attached. It's separation that leads to a whole spate of soul-related ailments, including the Hollowborn. But if we understand how to reattach souls, we could end Wadwin's legacy, maybe even conquer death. She scratches behind her ear. That's the theory anyway. Unfortunately, we don't have all the research I need to put it into practice. What exactly do you need? There's a manuscript called Theorems of Pangram. It contains research from Pangram's experiments on detached souls. The Hall of Revealed Mysteries is rumored to have a copy in the Elder Archives. The theorems could advance my research by leaps and bounds, but Grimda, the High Archivist, worships Whale, which means she has some paradoxical views on sharing and restricting knowledge. You don't say. And since she's not exactly a proponent of Animancy, she tends to restrict the kinds of information that would be useful to me. I'm sorry to hear that. She sighs. Look at me spilling my troubles. It's kind of you to listen, but I should really get back to my work. Anything else? I literally have that book. You'll never believe what I found. I should really read it first. Tell me about yourself. I'm an animancer from the Sanitarium. Currently, I'm researching matters related to Wadwin's legacy. What's Wadwin's legacy? Really? Wadwin's legacy refers to the rise in Hollowborn children in the Deerwood in recent years. Some have also connected it to so-called Beowicks that blow through Arglanfath. There's hardly any reliable data on those, though, so I can't really comment. She sniffs. I don't much care for the term Wadwin's legacy. It reeks of superstition, but it's too prevalent to change at this point. Personally, I'd like to see people take a more methodical approach to these matters rather than throwing up their hands and blaming the gods. Don't think Deerwoodans would see too much fun in that. I have some questions about the Theorems of Pangram. No, let's read it first. The Theorems of Pangram. Please tell me one of these characters has it. Did it end up in like a quest area? There it is. Can I put it in my normal one? No. A heavy old book that carries the dust of centuries. The pages are as fine and thin as an onion skin and covered with obscure diagrams and notes on Animancy. Alright. So I can't read it. It's just a quest item that I didn't know was a quest item because it looked like another book, and I was like, I'm gonna read, I like reading books. And I just picked it up. So I was preemptively solving this quest, essentially. I don't know. She doesn't seem like a mad scientist evil lady so far. I haven't necessarily been shown that Animancy is inherently bad. It's more that Animancy, there's people that do bad things with it. But if we want to understand the issue with Wadwin's legacy, then we probably want to understand Animancy more, if we can get the right people looking into it. So she might be a better person to be trying to cure the Hollowborn than the nightmare person that was underneath that keep.
Hail and well met.
Maybe we should give it to her. I have some questions about the theorems of Pangram. Such as? Tell me about the theories of Pangram. Pangram was an animancer working in the Deerwood. He had some interesting theories about essence and some rather innovative techniques for studying it. He was able to reattach souls to bodies after death, although he wasn't able to prevent his patients from degenerating. He was controversial, to say the least, but many are starting to realize that he was merely ahead of his time. What do you mean by degenerating? Eden twists her hands together. Well, there seems to be tiny problems reattaching souls after death. The bodies will reanimate, and may even retain memories and personality, but they develop a hunger for flesh, living, soul-infused flesh. Without it, they start to devolve, decaying mentally and physically. If the process goes too far, which it eventually does, they become mindless corpses attacking anything that moves. We haven't figured out a way to avoid that. That sounds like necromancy. Nonsense! Necromancy is magic. This is science. She emphasizes the word. In a world where magic is real, then science is going to be involved in how magic works. That's a bizarre distinction to make. Why doesn't Grimda lend you books you need? The Hall of Revealed Mysteries is rather protective of its books, especially the rarer ones, and Grimda in particular. She hates Animancy, thinks it's dangerous. I don't see how you can run the greatest library in the Deerwood and be so adverse to the spread of knowledge and research, but I've never understood these religious types. I'd like to know more about the Hall of Mysteries. You'll find it in the Copperlane district. It's dedicated to the God of Secrets and Revelations, and most importantly, it houses the largest and most expansive library in the Deerwood. Or the Elder Archives. The Elder Archives hold the rarest, most arcane, and most powerful texts in the Deerwood. Think of it as the inner sanctum of the Hall of Revealed Mysteries. Needless to say, you need Grimda's permission to enter. That's all I wanted to ask. Sorry about that. Yeah. She is trying to study the Wadwin's legacy and figure it out. Hopefully around here, in a controlled environment, they're not going completely nuts. You'll never believe what I found. You, Lady of Lament, you really found it. Neden cradles the musty tome like a newborn. I can't believe it. It really exists. She looks back to you. Thank you so much. This will be invaluable. She almost turns to the book. But at the last moment, she remembers herself and gives you a bag of coin. So, whoa. Big pile of experience and 500 copper. I was glad to help. Oh boy. Can't wait to find out why that was a horrible, horrible idea to do. Why is the furthest away person inspecting that? These charming windows are reinforced with iron bars and double-thickened glass. Aw. Who's a quaint little sanitarium? Now let's go inside and learn more about Animancy and find out in like black and white terms that actually it was a terrible idea to give her that book. Hooray! Haven't leveled one of you for a bit either, so boop. Mechanics it is. Ooh, level 4 powers. Body attunement. The cipher probes the mind and soul of the enemy target, finding the strengths of its defenses and stealing them for his or her own. Drains a portion of the target's damage reduction, granting the same amount as a bonus to the cipher. Whoa. Neat. That requires 40 focus. So take 7 DR and give it to yourself. Mind Lance. Impales the target with a lance of pure force, inflicting major pierce damage to anyone in the line of attack, with a high chance of causing interrupt. Strong 1 second interrupt too. 36 to 43 pierce. So it's an AoE, target plus length. Seems to be another one of those ones that she often has where it starts from her and ends at a specific person, and then everyone caught in the middle will take the damage, which could be a lot of damage. And it also could be a lot of friendly fire. Although if it's a narrow lance, you probably have a lot of control over it at least. Pain block. Provides an ally with a mental block on his or her pain, granting a bonus to their damage reduction and regenerating endurance over time. Damn. 10 damage reduction for 25 seconds, and then also 100 endurance over the course of that. That would be a good no, the tank isn't going to die button. Also a healing spell on my not primary healers. Silent Scream produces a psychic howl in the target area, stunning the target, as well as dealing raw damage to all enemies within. Hello, motorcycle. Why are motorcycles so loud? It's the stupid American ones. Stunning the target, as well as dealing raw damage to all enemies within. Stands a high chance of causing an interrupt. Range 6 meters, 6.5 meter diameter. So that's another really big one. Spike of damage, stun for 10 seconds. And faux AoE, that's a bit weaker. It's not an AoE stun though, it just stuns one guy and then does AoE damage, which is good, but not a big crowd control stun that I thought it might be. Wild Leech latches onto the characteristics of the target's psyche and drains it, granting the same amount as a bonus to the cipher. Affects a random attribute. Huh. 10 points of an attribute's pretty strong. Going between. An ally superficially takes on the form of a spirit. Their movement is increased, and many incoming crits, hits, and grazes are converted to less severe results. 25% of incoming crits, hits, and grazes become the next lowest thing. And then 3 movement speed. I kind of thought because of going in between that it might let them go through stuff. That's still pretty good. Just downgrades a lot of things. Still only has a 1 in 4 chance of effectiveness though. So 3/4 of hits will still be completely normal, whereas 1/4 of them will be downgraded slightly. Can't help but feel like pain block's the better choice, because it gives them 10 DR, which significantly reduces all incoming damage, and it gives them heal over time. I'm torn otherwise between Mind Lance and Silent Scream, I think. Stunning a specific target and also causing an AoE damage is appealing. Whereas this is also... This one has friendly fire, and this one's a more reliable big explosion of AoE. While also being similar damage, actually. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Pain Block and Silent Scream. So I can crowd control one guy to stun them, cause an AoE damage, or I can pick somebody like Eder or Hiravis or Yaskier and just make them a lot less dead in a way that's even more effective than a lot of the stuff the priest can do. But I have to have 40 I have to have 40 focus. It's a book that I can keep. The Most Unfortunate Tale of Favia and Baronet. I've already read that. Nasatak Poetry, a compilation. I actually am fairly sure I've already read that. Yeah. The one that's like, wow, traveling in the snow, the poem book. Is Animancer and Noble are communicating? The head warden of the Sanitarium is a statue, quite remarkable. They say the worst of the patients are kept locked up below. Animancy means progress and experimentation. Unfortunately, that makes some people uncomfortable. Yeah. Oh, the head warden's literally a statue. We're not joking. Okay. Hey. Now that, just so we're clear. Okay. What your soul may be trying to tell you. The Midwife's Memoirs. Psalm of Wotica. Animancy in the Modern Age. There's the same book. Head Warden Ethelmoer. A well-maintained statue of middle-aged man presides over the room. Looking down, unblinking over the bustle of harried academics pestered by the hopeful desperate. A strong warmth emanates from it that you could sense from across the room. There is a human soul stored beneath the stonework. You feel its attention turned towards you. It has been some time since a watcher graced these halls. His voice echoed deeply, rumpling the floor beneath you. I am envious of your natural insights, traveler. I can only imagine how it might have helped my work and life. Now, what is it that has brought you to my sanitarium? I'm curious as to how you've come to be in your present state. In my statue. In the statue, you mean? Well, he laughs. I was old, and it seemed wrong to me. A lifetime spent in pursuit of discovery, only to lose it all in death. Somewhere, someday, I would wake up in a new body, none the wiser, and pursue a different course entirely. All that experience wasted. If we are ever to unearth the principles behind our existence, it will be in spite of our condition. Of that, I am quite sure. To live on as part of something I helped build seemed to be a better legacy than what nature had in store. The transfer itself was quite simple as our techniques go, and for that I am grateful. Playing with souls is far easier to accept when they are not your own. I do miss being able to take an active role in the scholarly efforts here. Now and again one of our animancers will humor me and consult over some problem, but they're a jealous breed, and are too often afraid to collaborate. If you are considering it yourself, I can tell you that it isn't for the easily bored. Hey, some of my best friends are statues, apparently, at this point. At least you're not the first one I've met. Tell me about the sanitarium. A history lesson. This is a rare pleasure. Most come in here only concerned with cheating death in one way or another. We are an old institution, as Deerwood goes. This is our 94th year. As with many cities, the growth of Defiance Bay brought with it a host of problems. One of the worst was was that those born with, shall we say, ill-favored souls came to populate its streets in droves, thus the Sanitarium. Brackenbury was a natural fit. It was growing, but there was also a lot of money here back then. This place owes its survival to the curiosities of the wealthy more than anything, I think. Our founding came at a time of great suspicion in Animancy, much like today. So much progress has been lost to the missteps of a few careless practitioners. But in time, it was forgotten, as all things are. Since then, we have been at the forefront of Animancy's resurgence. We have played host to many gifted researchers and pushed the boundaries of our knowledge in ways never thought possible. Some of the first safe transferences were done here, and we have pioneered work in soul purification, lineage analysis, preservation. It's really quite a list, if you'll pardon my pride. So that explains my surprise, because I was like, oh, what? Why do the Animancers have control of the Sanitarium? My go-to reflex concern is like, oh god, they're experimenting on the ill, or really just anyone they can get a hold of. Like, oh, they have captive people that they can experiment with, and that's like, I was thinking of that as being the only reason for it. Basically, it was just like, oh, we can just do whatever we want with these people, because yeah. The world just doesn't have a great history of treating the mentally ill well. And, yeah, the word sanitarium is not a fun word in general. But in this universe, at least some of these conditions are probably what she said outside, soul maladies, which this guy also referred to. Is that, like, much like the Hollowborn, there's other conditions where people's attachment to their soul can be incomplete or suspect or a problem. It occurs to me that there might be dialogue for Aloth here if I brought him. I think the only way to switch my characters is to go all the way back to Cadnua. So I'm not in a huge hurry to do so, but it's a thing to keep in mind as an option, at least, I suppose. Something on the to-do list to try, maybe. Next time I go by. Today, it's... well, I can't say it's exactly the same. There's been some push to shut us down. It comes from Deerwood's more excitable denizens, whose minds are more passionate than thoughtful, I'm afraid. People see this legacy, and they see it involves something they don't understand. So it's natural for them to suspect people whose understanding exceeds theirs. It looks to them like we're hiding something. We have a representative in the palace, this very moment, defending the entire science of Animancy at a hearing before the Duke. Absurd as it sounds. If it does not go well, it could be the end of Animancy in Deerwood. I fear Eovar may be swayed by all this unrest, irrational though it may be. We shall see. Farewell. Irrational though it may be. I mean, not that irrational, considering that an entire section of the city has been taken out, apparently, by the freaking, by this undead, horde, basically. This man's soul was torn asunder by a Biowak. As you can see, the patient is unresponsive, common under soul trauma. The Animancer places a small stone upon the patient's forehead. A portion of his soul was recovered near his body. We use this stone as a vessel for transfer. Can you hear me, Oswin? Oh shit. The patient's eyes slowly open before a panicked, wild expression washes over them. Unfortunately, the extended dissociation has permanent side effects. The patient becomes more agitated, grunting and moaning as he tugs at his bonds. With further research, we're confident that we'll be able to rehabilitate patients like Oswin. Shit. I'm gonna double check because it's hard to keep track of names and all that, but I'm pretty sure that was my party member. Wasn't it? No. That was Kaliska and Heodun. Heodun was who I was thinking of, apparently. Now I'm looking at the Wikipedia page for the encampment from the beginning of the game. You have Heodun, Kaliska, Caravaner Guard, Glenfathans, Odemma, Sparful. No. I think Oswin just stands out to me from other games or something. Maybe. I thought that was actually one of the members of the caravan, or maybe even one of my party members, and I'm like, oh shit. But his name was Heodun. I've encountered Oswin probably a number of times actually as a name, so it's not helping me. But that made that little exchange way darker, that's for sure. These look like sketches of Angwithan ruins and artifacts. This painting of a rolling forest glen has a strangely soothing effect. I'm curious if anything happens downstairs, but this might be another brief little glimpse at a place where we move on immediately. Instead, I think the primary hook is the information that they're currently having a hearing about Animancy somewhere else. So there's a hearing about Animancy happening, should be at the capital, basically. And then there's also the fact that there's a district that's in trouble because of Animancy. And so when I resolve those kinds of situations or witness them and so on, I think that might lead to further stuff happening around here. That's distressing to look at. A strange device seems to thrum with power. Bella Sage. A woman paces back and forth, her feet crunching on the soft red carpet. She gestures and mumbles to herself, shaking her head as she pores over pages of notes. She almost walks into you. Echosi! Here I am, looking so hard for answers in my research that I do not see the kith standing in front of me. What can I do? What do you do here? According to my research grant, I study awakenings. Supplementing pre-awakened souls has been one of Animancy's greatest successes, and I am working on a method to replicate the process on awakened souls. She nods at her lip. But the truth is that I find few suitable subjects here. Wadwin's legacy has left plenty of awakened souls, but most are too broken for study. She sighs. I fear I will return to Revu with nothing to show for my efforts. I'm awakened. I've been recalling flashes of a past life. She scratches her chin. Most interesting, but not the kind of awakening I can study, I'm afraid. I need someone whose awakened soul can be triggered with predictable stimuli. Souls such as these tend to manifest as alternate personas in the host. She gives you a broad, strained smile. But I thank you for the offer. Okay. Well, I know exactly who I'm supposed to bring here, then. That's definitely Eloth. I'd like to know more about the Animancy in the Valian Republics. It is a dynamic and respected field. Even the Bale Reach incident did little to slow it. She shrugs. People in the Republics are more accepting of risk, less superstitious, ready to try anything that shows promise. But Animancy also has the potential to do harm. I'm not sure whether the benefits outweigh the dangers. This is true of any great technology. You can cut a man open to remove sick flesh, and there's a chance to kill him. Build a boat to explore a new land, and perhaps it sinks with you aboard. But surely these things make us better off, even though they sometimes fail. Goodbye. It's a acceptable and generic view of their profession and technology, if nothing else. It's basically how we view all of our progress and how we treat said concepts. Okay, let's talk to the person first, before I go through their stuff. But like it's the exact same thought process that we use to justify all of our technological progress and all of our advancements and all of our industrialization and so on. And it all sounds good, but at the same time, it's destroying the planet. And it's hard to, and you have to eventually deal with those when those two things clash. An Animancer scribbles feverishly on a parchment scroll, while his free hand dances through the air, counting off unseen objects. His lips move in silent discourse. As your shadow falls over his scroll, he looks up at you with a mingled perplexity and irritation. Let's be honest, with how tall I am, I'm not casting a shadow on his scroll.
Good day to you.
Can I help you? He forces a polite smile. What are you working on? My area of focus is white. More especially, how to cure them. What's a white? A hollowborn who received a transplant animal soul during infancy. One of Animancy's early efforts to cure the legacy, if not a successful one. He removes his spectacles and wipes his brow. They show signs of developmental abnormalities throughout their childhood, but when they reach adolescence, they become aggressive, feral, but still victims in need of care. Transplanting animal souls into children seems like an odd solution. We, Animancers, were trying to do something about the crisis, better than letting it swallow a generation of children. He stares at a fixed point on the far wall. And despite the controversy, it only went so far because, at first, it seemed to work. People called it the salvation. Children that had never been responsive to any kind of stimuli suddenly seemed aware of their surroundings, of their families. He takes a slow breath. The complications don't begin until puberty, and that's when the incompatibilities between body and soul take shape. Children become violent, ravenous. But we paid dearly for our mistake, I promise you. Angry mobs hunted down Animancers and burned down their homes. With them still inside, often as not. The grieving mother recoils. A grotesque manipulation, a desperate solution for a desperate problem, and the parents were heartbroken, betrayed. She closes her eyes and seems to recede from you for a moment. But it was important to try something, was it not? To bring hope, even for a little while. She falls silent. People took to calling it the cruel salvation, and many still loathe us for it. But we wanted to stop the legacy as much as anyone. The public begged for our help, and we did the best we could. I still don't know if that absolves us. Why do you study whites? He huffs. What kind of question is that? Just think of all the families that could be healed, the lives that could be restored. What could be more important? His face is reddened, and he turns away from you for a moment. He shakes his head. Animancy has an answer here, I know it. It's simply a matter of working it out. The grieving mother reaches out, as if to put a hand on Modric's cheek. Such pain, Watcher, and such determination. I see. Good. He looks eager to return to his work. Just looking around. Then be quick about it and don't touch anything. The Sanitarium has a lax visitor policy, but I don't. Without another word, he resumes his work. Okay. But his chest had a cutscene, so I don't want to.
Ready, Watcher. I'm on the trail.
Yeah, he sees you the whole time. Alright, what does this thing say? In a corner of Modred's lab rests a large weathered trunk. It seems likely to contain something important, if only by the virtue of its size. Examine. The lack of dust on the trunk's surface and long scratches on the tile floor suggesting that the trunk is frequently used and moved throughout the laboratory despite its considerable size. Deep yet narrow gouges score the wood at the edges of the trunk. They look like claw marks.
Hail and well met.
Hmm. I think I get it. I think there's a white in there right now. And although it's pretty docile and not freaking out. Talk about claw marks and stuff though. I'm thinking there might be one inside there right now. And that might be why he's so intent on trying to find a cure. Because he might know somebody who is afflicted with this situation. Although know is a strong term since you never knew the person in the first place and you put an animal soul. The premise is that they didn't get a soul in the first place, which means that having an animal soul, that's at most an animal that's just freaking out about the body it's in or whatever. That's essentially there was never a person involved, like as a humanoid intellect. So I don't know how he can cure them. I feel like they might. The only solution. I feel like the only outcomes are either a way to set the soul free, which is probably just killing it, or there might be a solution that just makes the animal not go feral. But even if that's the case, they're going to be they're going to essentially be like almost like a new species of people. Not biologically, but like functionally. They're going to be a whole new kind of person. They'd be these animal-brained people. Because I don't think... The idea of curing the white, as far as I can tell so far, they are not and never were human intellects. And so... Unless the freaking soul is still hovering around waiting to get in, you can't really cure them into being a regular person again. That's my understanding so far, at least. The edges of the cage are dented and scored with claw marks. Ah, you need the proper key. Sometimes we get people in here trying to make trouble for the Animancers. I wouldn't mind being better armed, so what if it makes the clients a little nervous? That's all we get for now. We'll have to keep that in mind, though, that almost certainly... That seemed too pointed of a reference. Like, it's almost certainly... Eloth's main, like, companion quest line leads to him here. Either because it points me here, or because I can put two and two together and choose to bring him here. Because he has a second soul in him. And it's manifesting as a second personality, just like they said. Unfortunately, I don't think I can switch companions in any particularly easy way. I think I have to actually travel all the way back to Cadnua and all the way back and all the way here, which admittedly doesn't take particularly any more time in real time than it does to get around.
This gash here is from when I woke up with a wolf pack trying to eat me.
There. Mauled by a bear 7 years ago.
Oh yeah, look here. And here. Once the bull had me properly hooked on its horns, things got worse.
They're just showing off their wounds now. Just hear me out. With this procedure, her soul would be returned intact, more or less. More or less. Is that how you plan on presenting your idea to Ethelmoer? Why? Not good? Not good. Well, I believe that'll be it for now. You know what? I've explored so much of it, I might as well just finish off Andra's gift. I think pretty much the only place left is the lighthouse. And then I'll be done with 3 of the regions. Then we'll go to the first fires. And then the last remaining area is the one that's full of monsters, I believe. Could go there sooner, I suppose, if I want to. Loop all the way around, then go to the capital. When I already have a reputation. And then see their discussions then. Local lads reported missing. Those with information as to the location of the boy Darren should seek to Oda and Andra's gift. Right. Well, apparently I'm going to do a quest about a missing boy, because that's one of the only locations I haven't gone to. It's Oda's house, and it's Oda's house and the lighthouse. So that'll be where we begin next episode. For now, it's time to pick a book to read. Saint Wadwin, farmer become god. With the mention of the name Wadwin, most folk think only one word, Godhammer. While this event echoes through the ages and is still felt years after the destruction of Evondewa Bridge. Right. That's the bridge I was trying to use, wasn't it? Wadwin's humble beginnings belied the powerful force he would grow into. Wadwin lived an unassuming life in a remote area of Retzeras, the son of Vorless farmers. He toiled in the fields alongside his father for 22 years until his father's death. The farm then fell to him to run. He considered selling, but had no other skills upon which to draw, so he set on the path of Vorless farmer as well. Nothing of note has been recorded in Wadwin's life until 4 years after his father's death. One day, while working the fields, Wadwin's life was irrevocably changed. In his words, night was falling, the fingers of dusk already gripping the sky. The sun had dipped behind the world's edge, and stars were peeking from beyond the shroud. The day was still, and darkness had blanketed the field. I placed my last harvest of the day into the collection pile, and when from behind me rose a brilliant light, I turned, fear in my breast, knowing not what could have caused such intense radiance. Behind me stood a blazing figure, resplendent in glory. Its white flesh glowed with a luminescent radiance. Its head, a blinding ball of light, brighter than the highest sun of mid-year. I avert my gaze, afraid I would be struck down for daring to gaze upon such a creature. A sudden peace washed over me, sweeping away my fear, leaving my troubled soul tranquil. A loving warmth wrapped its arms around me. A voice spoke to me as I stood, transfixed, trying to both see this glorious being and avoid its dazzling scrutiny. "Fear not," it said to me, "for you are chosen above all others. You will be the light to bring about the rebirth of an empire." It then held out its hand and bestowed upon me a vision of power, such that I could scarcely contain it. Wadwin, disheveled and dirty, stumbled into his village the next morning, telling all who would listen about the miracle that happened in the fields. Eothas himself, he claimed, had appeared to him. He was to punish the Adiran governor for leading his people into ruin. A way would be provided, and those faithful who helped would be blessed when the divinity manifested. Villagers ignored him, convinced the loss of his parents had broken his mind. But Wadwin continued to preach of the power of Eothas and the corruption of the governor, eventually earning him the ire of the locals. His confrontations with the villagers hit a turning point one day in mid-autumn. A crowd had gathered around Wadwin, jeering him and telling him to leave the village. The Vorless crop that season was particularly light, and the villagers blamed Wadwin, saying he had angered the gods, particularly Eothas, with his blasphemy. They backed him into one of the withered fields, yelling at him to go. Accounts of the inciting action are hazy. Some say a stone was thrown, Others say he was pushed. Others say he simply tripped over a dry root sticking from the ground. Regardless of the cause, Wadwin landed face down on the ground, the villager standing over him, laughing. Enough! A voice, not Wadwin's, boomed across the field. Wadwin looked up at the crowd, his eyes glowing with a blinding white light. He stood but did not stand. One moment he was on the ground, and the next he was standing before the crowd, who cowered before him. You dare deny me? The voice spoke through Wadwin's mouth. You dare refuse my servant? Wadwin's arms raised, beginning to luminesce. You dare require proof? His arms went out to his sides. Never ask again lest you be burned in the light of the new dawn. There was a flash of light from Wadwin's eyes, and hands and the entire field sprang to life. The once dried and brittle plants became full, lush and verdant. The crowd was silent. From somewhere in the back came a call of, Praise Eothas! Then they all fell to their knees in front of Wadwin, farmer turned god. You dare require proof? I'm like, well, how the fuck do you tell once... If you don't require proof, you're just opening yourself up to manipulation by people that benefit from lying to people. It's generally in your good best interest to require proof, in my opinion. I find that stuff frustrating. Because there's definitely a sense that it's incorporated into the religion specifically to... Because a lot of these... It's easy to just think that the narrative in itself is entirely manufactured, and if you approach it from that perspective, you see details like that and can't help but think, oh, they inserted that particular detail because they want their followers to not question ever, and that's like the antithesis of what I value in people.